Welcome back to another episode of Comic Dudes with Attitudes. We're two dudes. One of us, usually me, tends to have an attitude when we talk about things. And this is episode or part 2 of our year-long celebration of Invincible. It's the 20th anniversary of my favorite comic, and I think Matt's favorite comic, Invincible. If it's not your favorite comic, just let me think that it is, because that'll make me feel better. So, the plan for those that maybe didn't listen to the first episode or weren't here for that, every month we're going to go through one of the hardcovers. We're going to read it. We're going to talk about it. Last month we did volume 1 of the Ultimate Collection. We didn't talk spoilers. There are spoilers being discussed in this episode. From henceforth, we are talking about Invincible without hiding anything or holding anything back. This is now a deep discussion. Well, maybe it's not going to be that deep. I don't know. It's going to be a discussion about Invincible. So with that being said, let's get into it.
What are we getting into, man? All of it from the top. What are we?
Well, I don't understand the question.
What are we getting into, man?
Whatever you want to talk. I mean, a lot of stuff happens.
Man,
volume 2 of the compendium for me, which is this is trades volumes 3 and 4.
Yeah.
To me, a lot of stuff happens, and also like nothing happens.
True.
It's like a tale of two parts, because the first part of the hardcover, you get the fight with Mark and his dad. Mark finally finds out why Omni-Man is on Earth. He gets the true origin of Omni-Man. He finds out the truth about Viltrum and the Viltrumites, and you kind of deal with the effects of that for the remainder of the hardcover.
So I was reading when we started and we planned when we were going to do this episode. I was reading the issues, and issue 11 is the big fight issue, right? And I was in my office reading it, and I immediately wanted to text you, but I held back from texting you that day. I was like, I've read this before. This is probably I think I've read that issue like at least twice. I think this is probably like my third time reading it. I haven't read Invincible through all the way like you have, but I mean, this issue, I don't know why. I don't know if it's maybe because I'm a parent now or something, but this issue like really affected me. Like it really did this time. And the thing that really hit me was they're like having the fight, it's going down. I mean, Omni-Man's clearly the more superior, he's clearly a superior combatant in this. I mean, Mark's got his powers, he has powers, but he's very young in his tenure as a superhero. So he's getting literally the crap kicked out of him by his dad.
Well, he's also not yet mature enough
he's
to
not
be
mature.
as powerful as Omni-Man. Like mature in terms of his powers maturing, not mature about his age and he's a young man. Like that's not what I mean by mature.
Yeah, so he's still, like learning the ropes or whatever. And like his dad is just beating the crap out of him, and he's kind of going in for like the killing blow to end it, because Mark is like, his dad does the typical like Darth Vader, join me and we can rule the galaxy thing. That's like what I thought of when I read it this time. But I mean, he's clearly doing that traditional line, and Mark does the heroic thing and he resists and he's going to attempt to fight, but he's clearly outmanned here. But his dad's like going for the killing blow, and Omni-Man's talking about like, why are you going to lower yourself to these humans? Like, why would you do that? They're going to be gone. You're going to live way longer. And I didn't catch that the first or second time I read it, that like their lifespan, the Viltrumite lifespan is, not like a human lifespan. They live for hundreds of years. Thousands of years. And he was like, why are you lowering yourself to this level? What would you have in 500 years? And he said, and Mark replies to his dad and just said, Dad, I'd still have you. And that line like broke me, dude. Like that, and effect that line broke Omni Man as well too.
It
Um,
did.
and spoilers, he doesn't go for the killing blow. He flies off and leaves his son there, and you see him on the splash page, which Kirkman is the master of writing, and his artists are always the master of drawing it. Omni Man's flying off and he's crying, and we don't know where he's at currently. But that issue really affected me. Um,
So I have an alternate take on
sure,
how that unfolded.
okay.
Um, Maybe it's not an alternate take. Maybe it's just a taking it to a different level. But when you said that Mark does the heroic thing by fighting back against his dad,
Okay.
I didn't take it that way at all. I don't think that's Mark being heroic. I think that's Mark being your standard rebellious teenager. That is Mark finding out what his dad wants for him in life and him going, "Wait, no, I don't want that. I want something different. I want the life that I'm building and I want to do things my way." It just so happens to be that the difference of opinion is about enslaving Earth or living
Yeah,
among
exactly.
humans. That goes back to what I've said about Invincible time and time again is that this isn't a superhero comic, even though it is the greatest superhero comic in the universe. It's also just a story about family and growing up and finding your way in the world. And I think this was a masterful analogy for what it's like to get to that age where maybe your parents are starting to dictate what they expect of you or want for you, and you are um, rebelling against that and really just wanting to do your own thing.
That's a different approach. A very late this comic is very layered. That's a very good analysis of that situation. I did not think of it that way. So um it just so happens that Mark's decision hopefully saves humanity. Like yeah, you're right. Like that's true.
Also,
Yeah.
before that fight even happens,
Yeah.
there are several panels where Nolan is visibly
Yes.
hesitant about what has to happen next. He really doesn't want to have that decision point, that conversation, that confrontation. Like I didn't catch it. I think the first time I read it, and I didn't fully catch it the second time through. But this time, those things were more apparent to me, and I don't know why that is, but I definitely found more sympathy with Nolan than I have in previous reads.
He was definitely trying to have the conversation and something would always happen. Like he was trying I don't know, he who
I mean,
knows how that
yes, that,
conversation
but
would have went, but
there was also hesitation on some of his facial expressions. There, it wasn't just, oh, I couldn't have it because I wanted to. It was I really am not looking forward to doing this. I don't want to have this conversation, which ties to
okay, yeah.
that the reaction of Mark saying, "Well, Dad, I'd still have you," and then Omni Man flying off.
Got you.
I'm going deep on this. If we're gonna talk Invincible,
No, you're go. I
I'm going
appreciate it.
deep.
This is good. So when you talk about the facial expressions, I'm picturing some of the issue, the panels leading up to that. You're not just talking about that specific issue. You're talking about
No.
like I remember him and Debbie were doing something. He's like, the family was together, and he's like, I need to talk to you, but Mark ran out. You know, like, and
Mm-hmm.
he his face looked a little distressed. So okay, all right,
It's there. It's
it's
just easy
there.
to miss, but it's there.
Yeah, and this is
Which
why
this will come back in the next month's talk through. We're gonna see some more from Nolan.
and this is the joy of like rereading things. Like you don't pick up on that kind of the first time you read
Right.
something. You gotta for you, it's the third time around, and that's awesome. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like these two volumes, like the first volume is good. It sets the story, it gets all the
Yeah.
characters, but like this is when the series really start to feel like the series that I, know and love. I feel like issue like 15 is what I wrote down. I was like, this is when really Otley's art starts to really come into its own. I believe he illustrated the other issues.
He did.
But
I
this
think at
was
first he was starting to
ape that style,
Yeah,
boardwalker style a little
he
bit.
wanted to not be a very abrupt transition away from Corey's work.
Yeah,
I think he was trying to mimic Corey a little bit in style at first. I don't know.
yeah. I just his art once it gets up and running, and the fight issue, and it was just issue 15 was the one where they had to go to was it King Aquarius's kingdom. That art you could especially tell just with like the fish people in that kingdom. Uh, it really was the Ryan Otley art that I like, and it gets so much better too. I'm just thinking of some of the later storylines of the battle scenes and some of those, and it's
Oh
just
yeah.
crazy the scale and how his art just continues to get better and better and better and better. Um, I caught it this time around too, that I really like that Mark, he tries to come up with different solutions and not just always involve his fists like a lot of superheroes. He tries to come
Hmm.
up with creative solutions like um I don't remember exactly what his solution was to the whole it was in that issue, the mating ritual thing where King Aquarius got killed, and because Omni Man killed him, Omni Man is supposed to be the new king of that kingdom, but because he's absent, his next of kin has to fill in. So then Mark gets kind of pressed into
Not
service.
just the king, he has to marry the queen.
He has to marry the queen, yeah, and they have to consummate the marriage in front of everyone, like this entire kingdom of people, of fish people. And Mark goes along with it, and ultimately he comes up with a plan where the servant of this character is like the servant of the queen or whatever. He's actually in love with the queen. Mark comes up with a plan of like staging this fight, pretty much, of him losing. So this other guy who's truly in love with the queen and as a part of that culture as well too can become the new king. And that was just like a creative solution instead of using your fists and like I don't know going down there and killing everyone or whatever. Mark, he's always thinking, and I appreciate that about his character.
Do you remember Dinosaurus?
I vaguely,
Okay. So this I can't wait to talk about how Mark doesn't always go down the most obvious heroic path with
I
using
don't
his
remember.
fists once we get to Dinosaurus later on. That it'll probably be like July or August before we get to Dinosaurus.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. I mean that you're right. That is definitely a thing that Mark does. Uh, and that the stuff with Dinosaurus was a fun
Now
time.
I'm not gonna Google it or
Yeah,
whatever.
don't
I
Google it. Don't
vaguely
Google
remember
it.
the character.
Just let it happen. Let it
Let
happen
it
naturally.
happen.
I'll be honest that issue, I didn't really love it.
You love it. I
No,
thought it
and
was
that's
funny.
sort of what I was talking about earlier, where
Yeah,
I was saying that the second hardcover, while a ton of stuff happens, there's also like not a lot happening. Be-
graduation.
yeah, and it's like a lot of like single issue stuff. Like
Yeah,
we're not doing much other than just sort of establishing the supporting cast, and there's a lot of one-off adventures. There's the trip to Mars, um, and uh, and there's like an alien invasion, and there's the stuff with Titan and Machine Head, and I forgot how much of those single issue things were pulled into season 1 of the show.
okay.
Like they condensed a lot into single episodes and then took single issues and made them their own episodes. And I forgot how different some of those things happened, but um, there's a whole lot of nothing happening other than just Mark like dealing with the fallout of getting beat to shit by his dad in front of the entire world on TV and the
Yeah.
internet. And everything with Debbie, his mom, like
Dude,
she falls into alcoholism and just I mean, understandably so, falls apart if someone that I, you know, loved and thought loved me back referred to me as nothing more than a pet and a meaningless life. I'd probably be pretty upset too.
that'll do it.
That'll do it.
Well, I felt bad for her just in the first two volumes we read where, Omni Man was always leaving and he had this beeper and he's saving, and that a fight happens where that exchange happens and I just felt really bad for her.
Yeah.
And now Mark is in that role with the beeper, and he's constantly flying, and he's never around, and Debbie's just kind of left to her own devices, kind of just sitting in the house by herself. Um,
I mean that was true before though, when Omni Man was
yeah,
still on the planet and allegedly a good guy.
I guess the cattle or the pet line is what broke her. Then broke her spirits. At least she
I
could
would
put up with it
imagine watching
before.
her husband beat
Beat
her son
her
almost to
son.
death too had something to do with it. Maybe not just that line, but Mark almost dying and being in the hospital for 2 weeks probably had an impact on her mental state.
Not as much, but just just a little bit, a little
I
bit of
think
it.
it's interesting that you like really got like it pulled the heartstrings with the Nolan and Mark scene, but you're just like, oh fuck Debbie,
That's
whatever.
not what I said at all.
It's kind of you can't relate to Debbie here.
No, I can absolutely relate to Debbie. Poor Debbie, man. I'm feeling for Debbie the whole series. All what we've read so far. But how you were talking about things one for one, I have not finished season one of the show, but
Oh my
that
god.
that Mars mission that you talked about, that was like, I think that was the last episode I watched when I was on the plane coming to visit you. And like that was like one for one kind of
Yeah,
almost of the comic
it
in
was.
that issue.
It
I
really
was like,
was.
oh, this is cool. Like I love I love when it's the source material is respected here. So no, that was cool. Um, that whole like alien invasion issue, like I don't know, that seemed really random to me. I didn't know if there's some context or something I was
No,
missing. It just like came out of
there
nowhere. It's
wasn't.
like
Yeah, no,
alien invasion.
I thought the same thing. Even though this is my third time through, I was like, wait a minute, why? What? Did I miss something? I actually
Yeah,
flipped back a few pages to make sure that I didn't miss something. I feel like some of the the abruptness of that is it feels a little worse because I don't know if you noticed, but there's like a 7 issue or 7 page story right before that happens that I think was pulled from
that was a free
Image
comic book
United.
date.
No, it was from the Image United one shot or
Okay.
miniseries, and I'm pretty sure the placement of that makes the alien invasion issue feel even more jarring because you go from like a regular 22 page story to chapter 3 or chapter 4 being 7 pages from another series altogether stuck in the middle, and then you get the start of another 22 page story from the regular Invincible comics. So I just think that I think it was just weird the way that they stuck it together,
Okay.
which makes it feel because the stuff that happened in that Image United little ditty like had nothing to do with what happened in the issue before it. So it was just really
Okay.
out of place, in my opinion.
What was the Image United? Is it just like a one shot or something? Like
Yeah, I think it was either one shot or like a 3 issue or something. It was like all the founders of Image worked together on a book. It was right after Kirkman like bought in to be part of the board or whatever at Image.
okay, cool. This arc also, well, yeah, these two, this arc, this hardcover or whatever. Also, the big introduction of Angstrom Levy. Is that how you would say his
Yep,
name?
I was gonna bring that up too
And
if you didn't.
he
I love
becomes
me
like
some
a
Angstrom Levy.
major player. Yeah, like he becomes like a major player if I remember
Yes,
correctly.
he does.
Um, yeah.
Major. He's probably I would consider him to be Mark's arch enemy,
Okay.
the Lex Luthor to his Superman, to put it in terms that you would prefer.
Of course. Yes.
Yes.
'Cause I just remember him being in the series for a large portion of it and having
Yes.
some pretty serious ramifications in the series.
I'm
So that,
excited for you to get to the issue where Angstrom has the thing happen. I don't want to
yeah,
spoil
like
it for you, but I
yeah,
know you
dude.
don't remember how he
This
got his
I do
powers or
not
whatever.
remember it
Yeah, because
at
I
all.
didn't either when I read through it last year, and man, it brought me back. I was so into it. It's just such a cool villain origin.
So I mean, this is your third read through. Do you remember like I only remember like some really high beats. I don't remember You remember the nitty gritty. You remember it. You're in it to win it, man. You're
I
in it to
am.
win it. That's good. That's great.
And not only
Um,
that, but I'm ready to take it. I'm ready to take it deep on some of these conversations where it makes sense or where we want to or where we need to. So
well, where do you want to go? I've been talking a
I'm just
lot.
letting it happen. I'm just letting it
Just letting it
happen,
happen,
man. I
baby.
this is see the thing about me reading it last year and then you reading it for the first time in like 10 years right now
Yeah,
is that
exactly.
I get to kind of hear your raw reactions and I think that's more fun for me than to
Okay.
just show up with some sort of half-assed college dissertation on the deeper meaning of Invincible. I don't think anybody wants to hear that, and I don't want to say it either. So I'm happy to let
Okay.
you just share what your thoughts are, and I'll jump in where I want.
I I remember I like some parallel things that were going on in this issue as well too. I don't remember what issue it was. I should have wrote it down, but when Nolan gives his Omni Man gives his the real origin story, which we held off talking about in our first the first part where let's not go there, where he gives his real origin story. I like that like it was the same art was used on that first opening page where he's like, son, I need to tell you where I'm from or something. And like it was the same language from
Mm-hmm.
that first arc to that arc, and the origin was similar, but you got to see like some of the corrected art. I really thought that was cool, and I like when Kirkman kind of does that mirroring. And I thought of you when I read issue 17, which was the graduation issue, and Mark takes off his cap and gown, or takes off his cap, and they're all doing the flip your tassel thing over and fling it over your head or whatever. And Mark flings his hat and it goes like the trash bag. And I thought of you because of that, because I didn't remember that at all. And he's like, oh crap, like I didn't remember that at
Yeah,
all.
I forgot about that one too. I thought of you in one issue too. I forget which issue it was, but when they got to that science dog signing in the comic shop,
Kirkman,
and the fake Bendis guy is talking about
yes,
the reusing panels, and they do the reusing panels thing in that conversation. I was like, Matt, my
yeah.
guy.
I don't know why I remember. See, I remember that. Like
Yeah.
I remember that ridiculousness. Uh, I don't remember what issue it was, but we got the Lizard League, man. They're the Serpent Society for Marvel. That's the Lizard League.
Yep.
I think it was issue like 10 or whatever, but the introduction of the Lizard League. But yeah, no, I after reading this hardcover volume or whatever, like I'm I'm not trying to read it. Like, I kind of like I'm going to read it like 2 weeks prior to us having the
Hmm.
conversation, but I immediately wanted to jump into like
Yeah.
I wanted to keep going, and I'm like, nope, I'm going to show some discipline. I want to keep it fresh for when we talk about it in
Good.
podcasts.
I'm
But
glad.
like, it's got its hooks in me now. The art is catching up to the story, in my opinion. The art is catching up to the story, and I just want to keep going now.
So I think a couple other important, I don't know if they're milestones, but they're setups at least. Mark taking over the beeper and earpiece um with
That
what's
track
his
phone.
name? Huh?
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about it. That track phone. We even we even
Yeah.
Cecil.
Yeah. So that one is exactly what his dad used to do. So like it or not, he is starting to follow in his dad's footsteps.
Mm,
Maybe it's a branching path, but sometimes no matter how hard we try,
that's
we
true.
still end up a little bit like our parents.
That's true.
And
I,
these things are important because at first Mark just wants to be a hero. He just wants to do the right thing, and he thinks the best way he can have a positive impact on Earth is to work with the government and let Cecil pull the strings. He even
network with
refers to him as boss at the end
oof.
of like this is the last or the second to last issue. He says, "All right, boss. Um, it's it's going to be fun to watch that relationship run its course, and we'll get more of that later on. I'm really excited to get some of your reactions. Um, we have Eve and William dating. because in the comics we still have not come out of the closet yet. William is still not out and gay, even though he is gay in the show and he is gay in the comic too. We, for some reason, had to make him go through the still in the closet and dating women phase. I'm not sure why, but we did. Um, the last trade, the last issue, whatever, ends with Mark flying in his room after recovering from the fight with the team of villains that Machine Head recruited in the high rise. And you think Amber is in his room, and it's Eve. And Eve says, "We need to talk."
Forgot already. No,
Well,
yeah,
that's how
you're right.
Volume 4 ends.
You're right. Yeah,
I know I'm
it's
right.
important. No,
I
yeah,
know I'm
you're right.
right. And one thing that I love, and I think most people do, but in a situation like this, whether it's a show or a movie or a comic, and Marvel has done this really well in the past, especially with Peter Parker and Mary Jane, the will they won't they thing,
Yes.
and the
Did it for
will they
40
won't
years.
they, yeah, the will they won't they with Mark and Eve is not done yet, but we're getting to some of the good stuff. So excited for that coming up soon too.
And the best part about Kirkman is after they will they won't they, the next step I feel like is even better than the will they won't they. Like where that when we hit that inflection point and then what happens,
Mm-hmm.
it's done wonderfully.
Yep.
It really is.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. Last thing.
yeah.
Shoot, what was I gonna say? I just forgot. Oh no. Fill up some time. I
So
gotta remember what I was gonna say.
also the first appearance of the sequids, those little octopus creatures. I love the little octopusian
I call
things
them
that take over.
sequids.
Sequids. I like the sequid. It's probably right.
I don't know.
Sequids.
I don't know which is right.
Sequids probably sounds right because sequids would be like SEA sequids.
Well, it could be
Sequids.
sequids too, and
Yeah,
sequids like sequence would make sense because they have a hive mind. So I don't know.
dude, you're digging way deeper into this than I am.
This is how my brain works. I remember what I was gonna say.
That's I was doing
Yep.
my best.
I appreciate it. You did exactly what was asked. Thank you. It was perfect.
Thanks, boss.
um,
You lost it.
I didn't. So in the fight in the high rise, where Titan kind of tricks Mark into helping him take out Machine Head, who is the crime boss in that city.
Oh,
Um,
Titan tricks.
one of the villains that they fight
I know where you're
is
going.
Battle Beast.
Yep.
He's a top 5 character in Invincible for me.
Why does his eyes look like?
Now, at the end of that fight, Battle Beast
Okay.
says, "There's no challenge for me on this planet. I was lied to. I was told there would be a challenge here for me, and no being on this planet can pose that challenge that I so desire. Because all this dude does is travel across the galaxy looking for someone strong enough that can kill him. All he wants to do is die in battle. That's his one purpose in life, is to die in battle." So at the end of that fight, when he says he is leaving, that ties directly into an issue of Skybound X that came out in 2022. If you haven't picked it up, I suggest you go and do that. It's a great what was Battle Beast doing since the last time we saw him when he comes back into Invincible. If you want to go see what Battle Beast is up to after beating the shit out of Mark and almost killing Bulletproof and Samson, check out Skybound X. I forget which issue number it was. Maybe
I was just saying.
25. I
All
think it might
right,
be Skybound X number 25. I don't know.
25 of
It's
them.
the one with Battle Beast.
He's definitely on the cover of it.
Yeah,
So
that's the one.
holding a bloody something. All right,
Yep.
dude. That might be a incentive cover. I might have to get that because I want to
I
read
think
that
you should.
story.
I think you should.
My LCS has
That
some
was
of
it. That's
those.
the last thing I'll say about it. All in all, I think that this hardcover, if it didn't have the Mark and Nolan fight, I would probably say the first volume is far superior. But it's probably on even footing because of that whole arc of the lead up to the fight and the immediate fallout after is just so good. So I think we're even so far. I'd put them on
All
even
right.
footing.
Sounds good.
All right, you want to hit some news?
Let's talk about a little light week, but let's talk about some news.
All right.
It's time for it's time for the news from
Matt, because Dave doesn't really pay attention to this.
First important thing for gamers there, if you're on the PlayStation variety, the PlayStation Plus games for February dropped,
Ooh, I
and
didn't see
there's
this
some
yet.
bangers, dude.
Okay.
Outriders, Borderlands 3, Resident Evil 7. I don't know the game The Quarry, but The Quarry.
Did you play Until Dawn?
Uh, I it's one of those
You know what it
decision-based
is?
choice games. Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
same developer
Okay,
as Until Dawn, same style of game.
okay. And I didn't hate Until Dawn. I didn't really have a PlayStation at the time. I played it for like
Yeah,
2 seconds. I was like, oh, this is cool. Hayden Panettiere's in it. I know that. And it was like,
yeah.
no,
I
whatever.
watched Heroes. I know who she is.
Yeah, exactly. I know
Save the
heroes.
cheerleader.
Yeah. The game Scarlet Nexus. I don't know what that one is about either. But the main game, if you have I believe it's the essential or the premium tier,
And we
is
do.
Horizon Forbidden West. That
Very
is a
cool.
big time game. So those games are all available if you have the essential tier or not the essential tier, the extra tier or the premium tier. So definitely check those ones out. News item number dose. I'm trying to do this less and less, but I do have to tell you a little story. I got to read you a little story real quick, Dave, and
Okay.
I want to
Read
get
me
your
a
reaction.
story.
Okay.
I
This is
like
from
people
an
reading me stories.
Sure. This is from an interview. This is in regards to Marvel. I want to get your reaction.
Okay. Okay. I'm listening. I have to look something up real
All
quick.
good. I do think one of the more powerful aspects of being at Marvel Studios is having these films and shows that hit the zeitgeist. It's harder to hit the zeitgeist when there's so much product out there, so much content, as they say, which is a word I hate with inserting a laugh. But we want Marvel Studios and the MCU projects to really stand out and stand above, so people will see them and go get further into Phase 5 and Phase 6. At the pace at which we're putting out Disney Plus shows, that will change so we can get a chance to really shine. Kevin Feige to Entertainment Weekly. Also, when asked whether Marvel would do better by spacing out their shows or put out fewer shows per year, Feige responded, "Both, I think." I have been vindicated in everything I've been saying when I read this. It's too much stuff. We can't keep up with it. And the head man has said it himself. So I was feeling real good. How do you feel about that, Dave? I know you've had the argument. Well, everything's not for everyone, and some people are really dialed into this. It's too much, Dave. It's too much content to keep up with. It's not just me with kids. It's not just me. It's too much content. What are your thoughts?
Is it? Can I talk now?
Yep. You have the floor.
So I had already heard this. I was aware of this. I think it's the right thing. This is coming out of Phase 4 being pretty underwhelming. I think that you're partially correct that there was too much content. However, the quality of that content was just as much to blame. You can't keep cranking out mid-ass movies, the paint by numbers superhero comedy that Marvel has made all of their money on, and expect people to not go, this isn't that great. It is what it is. I saw Ant Man when it came
Yep.
out. I went
Yep.
Thursday night. Didn't love it. It was just okay. They took a Guardians movie and they just switched out the characters. That's all they did.
Was it as funny like Guardians 1 or 2? Like which Guardians movie? Because that determines a lot. Guardians
For
1 or
me, it
Guardians
felt
2?
more Guardians 2.
Oof. Oof. Which
There
isn't
was
the
some
worst
stuff.
movie, but it's just
There's some stuff that I mean, how long do I have to pretend that these actors over the age of 60 are spry enough to run and slide and beat people in hand-to-hand combat that are less than half their age? How long are
Michael
you going to make me believe this?
Michael Douglas was 40 when I was like in 1986.
Right?
It's like,
Dude, there's a scene where Michelle Pfeiffer is doing things she hasn't done since she was Catwoman in Batman Returns in the 80s.
96.
Like don't tell me that she can do that. I'm not stupid.
Insulting your intelligence. Do
Yeah.
not insult the audience's intelligence.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, Paul Rudd's no spring chicken anymore.
He's not, dude.
He's
He's
looking his
not.
age. He is looking his age.
He's getting up there. Um, I mild spoiler, dude. Is that MODOK CG for real, dude? Is that what I'm seeing on the internet? What was spoiled? Oh my, oh
Yes.
my god, dude.
I don't understand why they ruined MODOK that way.
You're a,
I really don't. MODOK's kind of cool,
he is.
and they just turned him into what Marvel does. He's a punchline. That's what Marvel does. He's a punchline.
I'm so happy we decided to do this podcast. I want to listen to this so much. You're just like, yes, just really faintly. Oh man,
The movie wasn't all bad. Like I'd give it like
no,
a
yeah,
6.5 out of 10.
when I saw that CGI, I was like, yeah, this can wait till Disney Plus. And I heard somewhere, I don't quote me, but they were saying pretty much like Marvel did take a lot of it. These movies cost money. I mean, they're not free monies to make. They're free movies to make, and they were saying they devoted a lot of the budget to Wakanda Forever because of how important that film was going to be. And I haven't seen Ant Man, but seems like a lot of the CGI might have went to some other projects. I don't
That
know.
sounds like a cop out to me.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Like you're
I
gonna.
mean,
Oh,
if you can't afford it, you
sorry
shouldn't
you
make
didn't
it.
like the cinematography or the
Like,
effects in these other movies because we gave it all to Wakanda Forever. What? What? No. Shut up. No. They have so much money. They are printing money. They have the only thing losing Disney money right now is Disney Plus and their parks.
yeah.
Star Wars and Marvel are just printing money. I don't want to hear we couldn't afford we couldn't afford the effects budgets. No. Just make better stuff. Quit feeding me superhero comedies.
Yeah.
That's why Wakanda Forever was so great because it wasn't a comedy.
It was different, yeah. It was like an actual movie, yeah. It was.
Like they used to make actual movies.
Yeah.
Even the first Avengers movie is an actual movie.
Comedic elements. That's what those movies all had, comedic elements, but
they've flipped the script. Now it's comedies
That's a good point.
with superhero elements.
That's a really good point. Like it is like
I mild spoiler for Ant Man. There's a character that they meet in the quantum realm that is like this weird, like gelatinous alien, and for the whole movie, it is obsessed with the fact that other organisms have holes. Like it asks like how many holes they have, and then near the end of the movie, it does like a very Guardians thing. There's a lot of like weird aliens and like jokey joke stuff, and like it's just so. And they're trying to introduce Kang,
yeah,
which they did already in Loki.
Yeah.
But the way that Kang is, they don't. They're trying to recreate the Thanos plot thread, and I think they've missed the mark already. But we'll see what happens the next time we see Kang.
Did he do good in his role, Jonathan?
He's fantastic.
I was gonna say,
he's the only person in the movie allowed to be serious.
Well,
the only one.
I will be seeing him in Creed 3 because I will be going to see that movie. But Alright.
I
Well,
know we
that
we went
was
way off course on that. Sorry, but
no,
you
that's
can't wind
good.
me up like that and then expect me not to take the bait.
Well, that was news topic number 2, Dave's review of Ant Man. So we got that there. Now we're down to 2 topics. Uh, the other thing, and I know I'm the negative one.
Mhm.
No, I'm the hater. But did you see the new poster for the new Marvels movie? I know it's not a
Oh
lot. Did you see the
yes,
poster
yes,
for it? I
yeah,
think it looks cool.
me too.
I'm kind of interested. I'm actually interested. I think it might be good. We'll see. It's just a poster, but
I love Brie Larson. I love Captain Marvel.
based
I
on the poster, I'm in.
I'm
I don't know.
neutral on binary, and I couldn't care less about the Kamala Khan Ms. Marvel. The way that they set up the movie was incredibly goofy and weird. So who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? I watched the Ms. Marvel show on Disney Plus,
Did you
and
finish the whole thing? Did
I
you watch the
did,
whole thing? Yeah.
and it was definitely a joke. We had jokes. We had lots of jokes. There was some serious stuff too, but it was very jokey. So I can't imagine what that movie like. The movie is set up by at the end of Ms. Marvel the show.
Yeah.
Kamala's just in her room, and then all of a sudden, like there's like a flash of light, and then Brie Larson is there, and Kamala's gone. I don't know. I don't know what's happening there.
Nobody knows what's happening. But the poster looks cool, at least, so we'll
Poster
give it
does look
that.
cool. I'll see that.
Uh,
Like I said, I love Brie Larson. And I love Captain Marvel. I saw the first Captain Marvel in the theater more than once.
I feel like just on importance to Marvel as a company, that movie will probably be good. I don't think it'll be a joke fest like Ant Man. I don't know. I'm not putting my Wakanda Forever stamp on it. When that was announced, I was like, I'm going. I don't care. I don't. I'm not loving all the content, but I'll go. I'm kind of there with this movie. I feel like it's going to be good. I don't know. I feel
We'll
like there's
see.
some importance there. We'll see. We'll see. The last thing, we don't really talk about comic book solicitations, but I really need you to talk me off. And we're going to do this live. I really need you to talk me off the ledge from buying 2 Ed Brubaker hardcovers for Captain America. I have the first one. I feel like I need the last 2 to
You
finish
don't
out
need it.
my. Damn, it's quick. Don't
You
need it.
asked and I delivered. I did exactly what you asked me to do.
That's true. You did exactly
I
what you
got some
said you were
news
going to do.
for you. Today I
Give me
sold
some news.
12 long boxes to a guy here in Texas. So yeah, you don't need to buy that one hardcover. If I can part with 12 long boxes today, you cannot buy a single hardcover. You have the willpower to not buy it. And I don't even have another kid coming or even one to begin with.
But you know what you do have? A bad back from all that moving. So.
So does Terry after having to put all those boxes in his car today.
Did he have to do it himself? Did you
No, I
help him
helped
at
him.
all?
I helped
I
him.
was just saying,
I helped him.
broke
Come
that
on, man.
man's back.
I'm not gonna
Poor Terry. That's awesome, man. The thing I can never get to sell comics. You actually had a taker. That's awesome.
Yep.
And got some good bread out of it.
Yep.
Nice. That's
Yep.
good, dude. That's awesome. Now you can pay for that high quality stream of NBA League Pass, so you can.
There's no higher tier. I would have bought it by now. I just have to watch in snippets in between bufferings.
You got to watch on Twitter. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like Twitter.
It's a joke.
That's all the news I have, Dave.
All right. Well, then we'll keep it moving into what we're reading and what we're playing. My list again is brief. As far as what I'm playing, Apex Legends, new season, still playing. That's evergreen. Every week I will be playing Apex Legends. You can count on that. Take it to the bank. If there are odds somewhere in Vegas on whether or not I'm playing Apex Legends that week, take the bet. You're gonna win.
Did you have to pay for the season pass, or did you roll it over? You rolled it over.
I haven't paid for a season pass in years.
Roll
Because
it
if
over,
you complete
dude.
the season pass, you earn enough in-game currency to buy the next one.
Keep it rolling.
It's literally free to play for me now. There was like a $7 or
It is.
$10 investment 4 years ago. We've just been rolling it over since because I grind. I put the time in on this game. Also started playing GTA 5 again, even though I got cussed for it via text message. But by you.
Xbox, right?
Yeah, I'm playing on Xbox. So I had a save file on Xbox, so
Mm-hmm.
I had to keep it moving. But yeah, jump back into GTA. Maybe I'll finish the story. Maybe I won't.
So good.
If there are odds on whether or not I'm gonna finish GTA 5, take the not gonna finish it bet, because you got a better
Really?
chance. I suck at finishing games like that. There's so
Okay.
much to
There's a
do. I just
lot.
get
There's a lot to
overwhelmed
do.
and then I just stop playing.
There's definitely a lot to do.
Yes. So those are pretty much the only 2 games I've been playing lately. I haven't gone back to the Dead Space remake yet. But I did start reading one new comic. And obviously I've also read a lot of Invincible in the last week. So that took up most of my reading time, was making sure that I was prepared for this episode for Invincible. But there's a comic from Source Point Press called Nightwalkers.
Okay.
Colin Bunn. It's a black and white book with some red. It's black, white, and red. It's a vampire book.
Okay.
I think you'd dig it. I think it might only be a 4-issue mini, which is typically not my bag. Typically go for ongoing. However, I really like Colin Bunn. I think he's a really good horror writer, and I like horror comics, and I like vampires, and the art looked cool. So I picked up number 1, and I really enjoyed it. Just to kind of set the stage for you very briefly, the character that you're following, I forget her name. I suck. I should have probably paid attention to that. But there's a main character. She's in a rehab facility, like a drug rehab facility. And that day, the first day you're in here with her, all of the staff are sort of acting a little strange and on edge, and they're all looking at their phones and like whispering amongst themselves. And then they tell all of the residents of the rehab facility that there's early lights out, like you all got to go to bed. So our main character wakes up the next morning. She wakes up late. She's thinking to herself, well, this is odd, because typically they would get us up at 6 for exercise and breakfast, and like it's a very regimented thing when you're in a rehab facility. Like you're not in control, they're in control. So she makes her way out and comes to find out that the only people left in the rehab facility are the patients. The staff abandoned the facility overnight. Phones don't work, internet doesn't work. They have no idea what's going on. And that sort of sets the stage for the comic. There's more in that first issue, but I don't want to spoil it. So far, it's really cool.
What's it called again?
Nightwalkers. There's 2 issues out so far.
Take a note. All right.
Also, for next week, I'll have a few more new series that I'm trying out. I got a few more number 1s sitting in the box downstairs. I gotta get to. Just Invincible took priority this past week.
No, understandable. Love some number 1 love. All right, I got a couple things. So first, are you good? Sorry,
I'm
didn't
good.
mean
That
to
was
cut you off.
Mine was quick. My life is very consistent.
Apex in a comic. I'm a little bit all over the place. So the first book I tried was Exiled #1. This comic
Did that say Wesley Snipes on the
a
cover?
comic and concept written by my man Wesley Snipes. So that's why I tried it. I was like, a Wesley Snipes comic from, you're getting something from this publisher too, Whatnot Publishing.
Yep.
Yeah. So the art on the cover artist is the artist for the interior of the book. And I love the cover art. I'm gonna say some of the pages were a little uneven in this book. The art's good, but some of the pages were uneven. But
I don't want to be slanderous, but that cover image just kind of looks like Diet Blade.
So
That's like Great Value Blade.
So the story
the Walmart
is
brand.
This guy's a detective, and it kind of looks like Blade Runner, but I've never seen Blade Runners, but it looks like a Blade Runner kind of type world. This character goes on, and he's a detective. He's obviously investigating a crime. He ends up stumbling upon my favorite thing, apparently, something with like vampires, but it's not vampires, like a blood ritual. And something ensues and happens at said blood ritual. and he gets coded and tagged with the label of being an exiled. Um, he ends up getting a partner, and this is earlier in the book, like in the past, it was a flashback, and they come to present day. He's still in the force. He has a partner, um, and some interesting things end up happening because he is an exiled, and there's some interesting there's an interesting confrontation between him and his partner that I'm not going to go into because it will spoil the book. But I think you're looking at the cover saying this is a great value blade is pretty much what it is. Because I was like, this dude walks
That
into an
wasn't meant as
underground.
a compliment.
I know this dude
Okay.
walks into like an. I know you're not. I'm just saying, like, this dude walks into this underground like blood ritual, and I'm pretty sure that's what happens in the first 5 minutes of Blade. Like, he's in that thing with Steven Dorff, and they're running around fighting people. I don't know. There's like a blood ritual, and he starts killing people. So, I pre-ordered these issues, so I'll be reading them. But it was not the best thing I read this week.
You don't have
It
to
was
read them.
okay.
Just because you bought them, you don't have to read them.
I have. Well, I'm not really getting as much paper, so like, I'm like, the thought of picking up a paper comic, like I do enjoy that.
I wish you had chosen one that was better.
I know. Well, the palate cleanser to The Exiled was G.I. Joe, The Best of Snake Eyes. I've talked about these collections before. I love them. They normally package
Was that
two
supposed to
older.
be? Oh, sorry.
No, they package two older stories and with like the newer rebooted kind of IDW comics. That's kind of the trend I'm seeing. This one is about Snake Eyes. It focuses on him. Just Snake Eyes, just a badass, and just shows why he's such an awesome character. I never read when I talked about GI Joe 300, I think it was, or 386 or whatever. It was over 300, but when the IDW when they lost the IDW license, I talked about how there was like some new Snake Eyes, like two new Snake Eyes running around, and I had no idea what's going on. In this collection, it has the issue of the actual death of the original Snake Eyes, and now I understand where one of those Snake Eyes came from. But yeah, just good GI Joe. Like, we really need to talk about Comixology because there is no way for me to read GI Joe currently anymore.
Nice.
I use Comixology Unlimited to use GI Joe, and because no one has the license right now, it's just up in the air. So I'm glad I don't have a lot of GI Joe issues, but I'm glad I did pick these ones up. I have a Best of Storm Shadow one.
Have
I'm
you
sure I'll report on it in the future. Yep.
have you gone to the help and FAQs section of the Comixology store? I think there might be
No.
something. I think the last time I was there, I think this might be helpful for you because the last time I
Okay.
was there, the only thing there really is just a picture of a hand giving you the middle finger.
Middle finger. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, no.
So that might help give you some perspective on the whole problem.
So I'm sure I have like the 3 scattershot issues that I had in my collection, but I didn't buy them, so I don't own them digitally. So they're just gone. And I really enjoyed
Cool.
GI Joe's like my palate cleanser book. I'd like if I
Very cool.
read something bad or I just like, hey, let's pick up an issue of GI Joe. Completely gone.
I will say that is likely on the publisher, not on Comixology/Amazon this
I agree.
time.
I agree.
I mean, you can't. Their stock price is less than $1. Things aren't good over at IDW. This trend will continue, I'm sure, until that company is just gone.
I should have bought them all when they were on sale, so I'd at least own them digitally. But it is what it is.
They'll be back up when someone grabs their rights. I mean, Hasbro has already said, and it might not even be IDW. This might be Hasbro because they're moving the license to somewhere else. So part of that change in licensing probably means that IDW is no longer allowed to sell or profit off of those comics because someone else will own the license. So that's probably all that it is. But real quick, before we move on, that cover, was that supposed to be like a cartoony cover?
Yeah.
Going for like the show?
They're super cartoony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that man's got a linebacker's neck.
Yeah, they're very.
That's very thick.
They're very rough and very cartoony covers.
Okay.
They're not.
I like that though. I mean, that's what you should do with GI Joe.
Yeah, definitely based off the cartoon. Don't have a prop for this one, but What I'm playing. After a long day, a hard day's, day of labor, when I get to sit down for the maybe hour that I
Where's this
have,
going?
I get to turn on my console. I boot up a game and it makes me laugh. It makes everything feel good and right in the universe. And that game for me currently is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Talked about this last week. I'm glad you stuck with it.
This is a flarkin' good game, man. This game is so good. Like I'm even further. I think I'm like chapter 6 now.
Okay.
I have all the Guardians, so it's like even more fun and chaotic, and I'm trying to keep up with all these powers. And the huddle up thing is awesome, where you're
Yep.
like mid fight getting your ass kicked, and you press the two top buttons, and the team comes in, and there's just great dialogue. They just did a really good job with this game. Like, and you told me for a while to play it, and I'm so glad I am because I'm really enjoying it.
Good. I'm
Um,
glad.
I
You're doing the
almost
between mission stuff too in the ship, right? Having those conversations.
Oh yeah, I like
Okay.
walk around.
All
Like
right.
I
Good.
take my time. I'm actually like I've strayed away from it for a while, but like I'm really trying to immerse myself in this world. So I'm like reading the data pad stuff too. Like, and I've most games I just blow by that stuff. Like
Yeah.
God of War, I didn't really do it. I would if there was a cool monster in God of War, I would read it. But like most of them, like whatever. But like I'm going around like reading it, and it kind of is adding a little bit to the story. So, but no, there's so much good dialogue in that game. Like I want to go around and talk to the characters. And like it's cool,
Me
like
too.
when you walk by them, or like I don't even know how to explain it, but like you walk by a character and they'll say something witty, or if you're just standing around, they say something. There's so much dialogue in this game that like I don't know how they did it. I'll be honest, it really got me on board when you get like Peter Quill to you level up and you get the abilities and you upgrade his blaster. And I almost texted you that day, but I showed restraint as well too, because I was like, we'll talk about it here. When you get to do the Gears of War active reload, where if you time it right, you get more powerful. I was like, any game that has that, 10 out of 10. Let's go. So the active reload thing won me over. Uh you would you would have laughed. Like there's quick time events, which I'm really not used to because they haven't been in a lot of video games in a
Yeah.
really long time.
Because they suck.
Yeah, there's one like where you're trying to save some girl and like a ship blows up, and there's this quick time event, and I swear to God, I died 15 times on it, dude. Like, because
Some
I
of that
didn't know
stuff
it
is
was like
brutal in that game.
I didn't know it was like a timing one. I thought it was a
Yes.
rapid, and it was not a rapid one. It was
No,
just
it's
like
not.
time it perfectly. I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot once I figured it out. But dude, I was cracking up. Like, it took me like 15 times to beat this one quick time event. I honestly, I could care less if they made movies, if they made more games like this. If they made this, could totally scratch my Marvel fix. Like, I don't know. Like, I could get this game is so well done. And like, I love Drax, and you're like, he's too jokey. Like, I find this Drax to be even more hilarious. Just the dialogue that he says. I love
I
it.
think
Like,
this
the game is
Drax is
great.
more likable than movie Drax.
Yeah, he's just, yeah. His dialogue with Gamora is hilarious, dude. It's so funny. But
I mean, movie Drax is bordering on like mentally incompetent.
yeah, true story. So I want to challenge you
Okay.
for my last recommendation.
Challenge
And
accepted.
it's really not going to be a lot of reading.
Okay.
But my last recommendation is Nightwing 100.
Challenge denied.
I even got, for those who are watching on video, I got the cardstock fold out cover. This was
I ain't
a
reading
good.
that.
This, why not?
Because
Why?
I don't want to.
This was a good issue. I mean,
I just threw you off. I'm so sorry.
Whatever. I mean, this was a good issue. It's been the culmination of Tom Taylor's like run here on the Nightwing series. He's on after 100, but it had the typical rotating guest artist thing that I don't particularly love. I was like, why is this thing so long? There was like 6 pages in the book though, where that were just like splash pages by different artists and whatever. But the thing I wanted you to read is the main artist Bruto Redondo, and it's really not a lot. It's really not a lot of pages. It's like maybe 10 pages. The interactions between Bruce Wayne and Nightwing and their thoughts on Alfred, because Alfred is dead.
Mhm.
Spoilers. How they talk about Alfred and their relationship, it was pretty moving. Like, it was really good. And if you've been reading the whole story, like, obviously you get a lot more from it, but like, it was just an awesome issue.
When did it come out?
It's on Infinite now.
All right, maybe I'll read it then.
Yeah, it's on Infinite. Like, this is, let's see, that's 3 pages, and then it's like 5 or 6 pages at the end. It's really the 5 or 6 pages at the end. But Nightwing is really, from this issue, and if you read any of that Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, like, Nightwing is like the guy moving forward in DC, and this kind of is a jumping off point. So that was all I had. I'll probably read some more comics. Well, I'll definitely read some more comics this upcoming week, but that's what I got for today.
All right, I got one more kind of. It's related.
Okay.
It's what I'm watching. So
Okay.
still watching The Last of Us. You're still not watching The Last of Us. Show is still incredible, and you're still disappointing me that you haven't started watching it.
Do we know how many episodes it's going to be?
8.
It's on 6 now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I swear to God, if you start watching this before you finish Invincible season 1, I'm gonna lose my mind though.
Jump all over.
You need to finish Invincible. You're literally like, 140 minutes away. Like, it's 2.5 hours, man. It's all you have left. Just finish it, please.
We'll get to it when we get to it. We'll get to it.
I'll read the Nightwing number 100 if you finish Invincible season 1.
I will by the next time we do the next.
We'll see.
We'll see.
No, I also started watching the new season of Titans on HBO Max.
F Batman.
I was surprised that it got another season.
Yeah.
The show has gotten worse with every subsequent season, in my opinion.
From every season.
In my opinion, yes. The way that they handled Scarecrow was just, it was embarrassing.
That ain't it.
And there were like Lazarus pits just like in Gotham for use. There was a lot of goofy stuff that happened in the 3rd season, but I think Superman might be in season 4, but the show is still goofy.
Jumping on point.
Maybe.
One season.
But I did want to admit publicly that I am still watching Titans, despite my displeasure about the tone of the show since it started. Still watching.
We appreciate your candor.
Sometimes you got to just take an L, you know? I'm going to hold it. I'm going to sit with it for a while.
I know all about that, so.
Me too. Well, I guess that takes us, speaking of taking L's, you know, we both take an L together when it comes to the algorithm exposing our content to the world. And this is the point in the episode where I ask all of you, our faithful few, our listeners, our viewers, share us. Tell people about the podcast. Like the video, comment, share it on your Instagram story. I don't care. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Facebook. Just tell somebody you work with that likes comic books about this comic book podcast that you listen to or watch with these two older dudes that are sometimes kind of funny. I don't know. That'd be cool, I guess. Our Twitter handles are also in the description of this video or audio podcast. You can follow us there. Matt tweets a whole lot more than I do, but I will follow you back. If you want to fluff your follower numbers, come find me. I'm good for something. We'll be back in 7 days. I don't know what we're talking about yet, but we'll be talking about something. So until then, take care of yourselves.
Peace.